It's happened again.
Oh, we're back.
We're back. We are back. You thought it was a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
There's no Chesney Hawkes podcast going on here.
No, we're going for Joe Rogan numbers.
Well, the Joe Rogan Experience. Episode 5,000,006,000,006.
Yeah.
Yes. So, anyway, welcome back, Chief. Good to see you.
Yes, welcome.
Welcome. Have you had a good week?
I've had a lovely week. Have you had a good week?
It's been okay, mate. Yeah, it's not been too bad at all. Been helping move house. Been training a dog.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty busy, actually, mate. And then the odd little takeaway bit and piece at work as well. But it's been pretty decent, I must say. Not a bad week at all. And the sun has come out.
Ah, lovely. Yeah, I've just been running around Tesco's buying as many cauliflowers as possible.
Ah.
So more of that to come later.
I'm waiting to see what you do. I'm waiting to see what you do with that. So everyone who's listening, welcome back again to the second Prep Kitchen podcast. I think we want to start by saying just a huge thanks, really, to everyone that listened and who has subscribed and shown real good support. I'm sure Paul will want to reiterate all those notions.
Yeah. Yes, thank you very much.
It's been pretty overwhelming. How many YouTube views is that?
We've had 90 now. 90
YouTube views, 88 of which were Brenda, my mother.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. I just struggle to work out how where it turns into narcissism, how many times you listen to yourself to bump up the view count. But never mind.
I'd say twice.
We might have a bit of a problem.
We've received lots of messages, and everyone's been really supportive. There's one quite funny one that we got through Instagram. If anyone wants to follow this person on Instagram, it's Just Your Average Cook. It's the name, and he was writing a very nice message about how he wanted to do a podcast. He really enjoyed what we were doing, but for a little spelling mistake, made it potentially quite rude. He said
it really knocked the wind out of my sails when I read it. Yeah. And then I thought could be a typo.
It could be a typo. I'm hoping it's a typo because he does go on to say, "I could tell it was your first podcast." So thanks for that. Thanks, that's very kind. But I'm sure reading the rest of it was a genuinely sincere compliment. So thank you very much for that. But we'll get cracking straight into it, Chief, like we did last week, where we leave an open sort of floor for people to send their questions in. And we got quite an interesting one, didn't we?
We got two very interesting ones from a very interesting friend of the podcast, John. I know you'll be listening, so these are for you. We'll start off with the first one. What do you think each other's best qualities are as chefs?
Now this was probably a lot more difficult for you than it was for me. Shall I go first, or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
I will go
because I still haven't made up my mind.
You haven't made up yet. That's okay.
And depending on what you say, will depend on what I say.
Well, there's two things actually. I would say one is very important. And Paul makes a fantastic cup of tea. That has to be said straight away. But secondly, and I would say the thing I admire most about Paul as a cook is his confidence in what he puts on the plate. And by that, I mean knowing when enough is enough. I'm guilty of it, and I know other chefs are from time to time, that things, you put 1, 2, 3, 4 many things on there and you're trying to sort of impress people, rather than just the essence of what the dish is supposed to be, which is supposed to be, well cooked, well seasoned, and it's to feed people. It's nourishment at the end of the day. And I think that's one of your best qualities is standing alongside you and watching you cook and cooking with you. Is there's not things that are on the plate unnecessarily so, and I think that shows a sign of a confident cook, not by how much they talk about what they can do and where they've been and all that sort of bollocks. It's all about what's on the plate, and what you put on the plate is 9 times out of 10, which is a pretty good statistic, I would say. It should be there. So that's what I would say is your best quality, Chief.
Well, that's very kind.
You're very welcome.
Kind. Yeah. I had a couple for you, actually. The first one sort of goes along with the tea theme. I'm amazed every time I see you how many cigarettes you smoke in one go. You can just chain away there.
Oh, yeah.
We've had 3 or 4 in a row. I think your best quality as a chef, and I refer to you as this quite often when I talk to people, is your amazing pastry work. and
Oh,
I call you my pastry guy.
pastry guy.
And I say, Matt's my pastry guy. I have never really taken that much of a great interest in pastry, really. Yeah. And I think that's why we work so well together, because you are a very confident cook and you're a very talented cook.
I think we sort of fill in the gaps, don't we?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fill in the gaps with one another. That's very kind.
Your pastry work is.
Well, that was where I started. That was my first love, and I still enjoy making pastry, all different types, but also working on the pastry section. I do enjoy it. It's fun. I think it's just such a different atmosphere to the main sort of blood and guts of the hot side of the kitchen that you can sort of, you seem to have more time. I don't know why, but you seem to have more time and you can work almost at your own pace. And that sort of cooking for me, especially desserts. I remember Raymond Blanc saying it once, and he's absolutely right. I think it's the only course within a meal that you can have a bit of fun with. The starter has got to get you off on a good footing. It's got to let them be excited about what's to come. Your main course, that's all business. That's all serious. Everybody who comes, everybody who comes to a restaurant is going to have a main course. And dessert is totally unnecessary. It's just indulgence, and you can have some fun with it. Nobody's going to come to a restaurant and just have dessert. It's something that you've got to, with the first two courses, entice them into. So that's why I have a love for all things sweet and pastry.
Yeah. And if there's any non-chefs listening, when I say I like your pastry, I don't mean your short crust. I mean your desserts as a whole.
Yeah.
So let's just get that out of the way. That was a little fun bit there for us, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Blowing smoke up each other's backsides in the first 5 minutes.
I feel inflated.
The next question is a bit more serious from John. What part does mental health play in the kitchen, and what is your experience of this? Before we sort of get into this question, there is a fantastic charity called the Burnt Chef Project, trying to burn the stigma of mental health.
That is the hashtag, isn't it? Hashtag burn the stigma.
Yeah, it is, yeah. In the catering industry. If you go over to their website, Burnt Chef Project, you can learn all about that. And there's a free phone number. It's completely anonymous. So if you are struggling at the moment or in the future, do get in touch. But I don't know whether you've had any experience of mental health issues in the kitchen, whether you or somebody else. What?
I don't think it's anything I've ever really had, I would say, huge issues or problems or trying to tackle or trying to handle. But I totally get why it's an industry that has, I would say unusually high numbers of people that do suffer from mental health issues and conditions, because it's a job that's filled with highs and lows. There's an incredible amount of pressure on it. It's like many jobs in a way that you are being judged on a daily basis, but you're being judged 20, 30, 40, 50 times every single day. So the level of scrutiny, I think, is probably higher than any other industry that I'm aware of. So I don't know every industry. And as like I said, it's the highs and the lows. I've come away from some services before and I'm thinking, I'm so buzzing. I'm like, that was so good. Everything went out exactly how it should have done. The kitchen was communicating properly. Everybody was on form. The food was immaculate. And you feel a real buzz off of it. And then you go home and you have to take 3 hours to wind down because you can't sleep.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, there's been other services where I've come away from it and I've thought to myself, should have just worked at Tesco's. Should have done anything else. There are other supermarkets available, by the way. I should have worked anywhere else, because I feel, you really do feel totally deflated. You start questioning, is this the right career for me? Am I good enough to operate at this level? Should I be doing better with this, X, Y, Z? So I can totally get why it does have, like I said, unusually high numbers of people who are dealing with mental health issues. I don't know about yourself. I mean, I've worked with chefs who I've seen come in and out and, have really struggled. Some have spoken to us, myself and, chefs we work for, and others have just not bothered. And then, who knows what happens after that. But I think that's the whole idea behind the Burnt Chef Project is, like it says, burning the stigma, and it's getting people to talk about it. And I was thinking about this earlier on, the sort of phrase you hear a lot of people say, when you've got certain issues or certain problems or things are getting you down or whatever, you hear people say, man up.
Yeah.
Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with the term man up. I just think it should be reappropriated, and man up should mean something different. So man
Yeah.
up shouldn't mean historically what it has done, which is, ignore it. As Ramsey would say, find your bollocks and persevere. That's not manning up. Manning up should be sitting someone down, talking to them, and letting them know exactly what's on your mind and what your problems are and what you're struggling with. That should be, I think, the 2021 interpretation of manning up. So I would urge everyone who needs to man up.
Yeah. I've never really sort of suffered with mental health. I suppose I have a little bit in the kitchen. I've seen it, and I was thinking about this today, how to approach this. A few years ago now, was working in a kitchen, and someone phoned in sick. It wasn't a mental health issue. They just weren't feeling very well. And they came back to work the next day or the day after, and the head chef absolutely, for 4 or 5 hours straight, lambasted this guy. You're sick, you're sick, you're sick. And if you've got a mental health issue, that sort of approach is just going to make you worse.
Sure.
And you think, well, actually, what's the point of me coming to do this job? I've been in this industry slightly longer than you have.
Yep.
And I'd say even sort of 10, 11 years ago when I was getting into the industry, mental health wasn't talked about then at all, really.
It wasn't on the radar at all, was it?
No. So, you'd say, I'm really struggling today. And you knew that something was up with yourself. But they'd say, well, come on. Like you said, man up, you pussy. Get on with it.
Yep.
Stop fucking about. I think mental health needs to be talked about more in a management sort of situation rather than a personal situation, if that makes sense to everybody, and how to sort of recognize the signs that somebody is suffering with a mental health issue. I'm not going to mention any names here, obviously,
no, sure.
But we had a junior chef work with us who was sort of struggling with mental health problems. And I didn't have a clue how to approach that person or ask that person what was up, or get a conversation going where you could find out what the crux of the problem was.
Yeah.
To try and help them forward.
I know what you mean. You sometimes, I mean, like for myself, you almost feel like, well, I feel like asking, but is it really any of my business? Like, I don't, so I always, so what I do now, if I'm asking something which might be a personal sort of question or digging a bit deeper, I'll always open with the caveat, feel free to tell me to mind my own business. But so they won't have a problem going, shut up, mind your business. And that's fine. I'm prepared for that. But I always just say, if I'm being too forward, tell me to mind my own effing business. And I will.
Yeah. It is really tough. We're in such a pressure cooker environment that actually Sat Baines has gone down to 4 days a week.
Yeah, I saw that.
To alleviate the sort of mental health of his staff. Now, I know we're all on furlough now and we all want to get back to work, but I feel when we do go back to work that we're going to jump into something too quickly, and we're all going to burn ourselves out by the end of the first month, to be honest.
Yeah. I think
it worries me to look at it in that sense.
The way I look at it is in, everyone's been predominantly off of work, certainly what you'd call serious work in our industry, the way it normally is. Yeah. And things are going to reopen. especially for those places that are going to reopen later than others. And they're going to do so quite possibly, and this is something we'll get onto a bit later on, at 100 miles an hour. And to me, it's as if you've got like a prize fighter or professional boxer, which has been called in with 2 weeks' notice for a title fight. They've not had the training camp behind them to last the rounds, and you're going to have to go in and really try and hammer it out without kind of getting your sea legs back again. And I think that's going to be it's something I'm not looking forward to. Those first few services are going to be an absolute nightmare. Yeah. You're just going to forget what you're doing, and even though it's almost second nature, it's I don't know. It makes me feel almost anxious thinking about it now. So, you know, if there's anyone else that has those sorts of feelings, or thinks that we're talking any kind of sense on the subject, or likewise, if we're talking absolute gobshite, then email us and let us know. Because, like I said, we're
kitchenpod@gmail.com.
Yeah, we're just sort of talking from our own experiences, but also trying to figure out, if we can give any help and advice, or if we're in need of any help and advice. So, if anyone does have any experiences that they do want to share and they do want to get out, you can keep them anonymous if you like. Then just send them in to us at the email address that Paul just gave, and we'll do what we can. But also,
I just want to jump in there, Chief.
Yeah.
If you do feel like you need support, the Burnt Chef service, the Burnt Chef support service, if you text Burnt Chef to 85258, it's free, confidential, and 24/7. So that's text Burnt Chef to 85258 if you feel like you need any help or anything, really.
Yeah, spot on.
I mean, don't text them if you just want to meet up for a coffee, but
you can't. They're closed.
They're closed.
You have to wait 6 weeks. Sorry,
they're not closed, but coffee shops are closed.
Coffee shops are closed.
Yeah,
super. Well, I think that's the heavy, serious stuff. Kind of
answered all your questions there, John.
Yes, hoping so. And another thing that I know you wanted to talk about today was an article that you've come across. Was it on Big Hospitality?
Yes,
and it's
catering news time.
Catering news time. So this is all about the supply chain, because a lot of the time, especially in the media, when we're talking about hospitality and the problems it's facing and going to face and has faced, one massive component of the industry which never gets a mention, and how they've dealt with things and how they've potentially struggled or developed their business because of the crisis, is what's known as the supply chain. So that's the people that supply restaurants, hotels, and bars with all of the produce. With all of the produce that we're so familiar with. And I know you come across an article on Big Hospitality.
Big Hospitality, That's it. Hospitality supply chain business on verge of collapse without immediate support. The UK's hospitality sector supply chain is facing devastation, with 324,000 jobs at risk unless businesses receive immediate financial support from the government, new research reveals. Trade body UK Hospitality Supplier Alliance research highlights the impact of the COVID crisis on hospitality supply chain and the lack of financial support that has been received by businesses. Kate Nichols, Chief Executive of UK Hospitality, said, "It cannot have escaped many people over the past year that hospitality businesses have been completely devastated by the COVID crisis. Much less visible, but by no means less terrible, has been the destruction heaped upon those businesses that supply restaurants, pubs, hotels, and the entirety of hospitality. According to the data, 1 in 5 supplier jobs have already been lost, with the workforce reduced to 82% of what it was in February 2020. A third of businesses have received no government grants or loans, with 1 in 5 facing insolvency without further financial support. In total, 2/5 of businesses expect to close, putting 324,000 jobs at risk. UK Hospitality has called on the government to use the forthcoming budget to ensure that supplier businesses receive the necessary financial support." The article goes on, if you want to read it. It's on Big Hospitality. I should just sort of point out or explain to people who aren't in this industry how it works, I suppose, because I don't suppose people know. So we would buy something from a supplier. You'd ring up, put your order in. They'd have bought it, the supplier, from a wholesaler. that right?
Well, they'll pick it up from
a supplier.
From
their supplier.
They'll pick it up from the individual purveyors or from the markets, whatever, and then they'll put their own markup on it, and X, Y, Z.
Yeah. So whether it's a small business or a big business, I was speaking to. I know we're going to talk about small businesses in a minute, and a local business to us that's been affected, but a sort of bigger business. I won't mention who they are. Has gone from earning just in one depot £1 million worth of profit a month, and they're now running at a £500,000 a month loss.
Wow.
I mean, they've got a massive contracts with hospitals and stuff, so they're obviously still working and still delivering and whatever else. But yeah, that's crazy. There's sort of the numbers just really shook me to the core earlier.
Yeah. I mean, I remember watching a little video, and it was a famous Scottish chef was talking about it, and he was focusing on small suppliers. He was saying in terms of all of a sudden you got these restaurants that aren't open, and he's got a small business. He's got to lay off 2 or 3 of his staff because there's only a select amount of places that are still willing to buy any of his stock. So then he's got to drive all around and set it off himself just to make some money to keep everything going, keep, food on the table for his family. And then all of a sudden, when the restaurants are told, yes, you can reopen again, he's then got to find the money somewhere to purchase the produce and bring back the staff to then supply to everyone. And it's just a huge juggling act. And it's just something that's financially the open and the close, the open and the close. It's just not viable for small businesses like that to go forward. They just can't do anything about it. So what we're trying to say is, let's get some momentum going to help out the supply chain, because all those people that want to go out and have something to eat when the time comes, if these guys aren't helped out, they'll be bugger all there anyway.
Yeah.
So something definitely needs to change. I know you were in contact with a supplier that we both use. You were speaking to Chris at Dartfresh. Those who don't know Chris, he is, I think his official title is head or senior tea boy, something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. So he was very kind enough to give us some information and kind of like how they've been combating this crisis. And I think actually, they're one of the businesses that I could say has actually turned the COVID almost, if you could say, into a plus. But, they've turned the ship around.
We reached out to Chris. I'll give you a little bit of background on Dartfresh if you've never heard of them or you're not from the local area. They started out as a family business selling fruit and veg, and they've evolved to be a complete food service solution by getting masters of the trade in each element. They've been quietly growing in size and stature as a family-run business since 1957, and now supply produce to the wholesale, retail and catering trades across the southwest, and has now started a national delivery service for certain lines. They've just started a line of meat and fish, haven't they, just before this sort of all kicked off, really. Chris said, for me, the past 12 months have been a bit of a roller coaster, spending a year at a desk developing the range and service at Dartfresh. Lockdown after lockdown, and all I wanted to do is best serve our loyal customers across the southwest. For me, we are nearly there. We have the complete food service for chefs. Add to that the amazing and super supportive home delivery customers whose loyal support has quite frankly kept the wheels turning. Overnight, we lost 90% of Dartfresh business, but instead of accepting this, we evolved. A website was expanded, the range was developed, and within days, we were delivering vital supplies to vulnerable people across the southwest. Most of those initial home delivery customers still use us now as their preferred food supplier. Their support has kept the team together, kept everybody in work, and most of all, enabled us to grow as a team. We have big things to come in the next few years at Dartfresh, so watch this space.
Watch this space.
We will be watching that space, Chris.
Yeah, and for those
hopefully
of you
trying to see you do a bit of work.
and for those of you that were just listening to that and hearing Paul stumble over those words, Chris has very bad handwriting.
Yeah, he's got very bad
terribly wobbly, and Paul can't read because he's from the Midlands. So there we go.
True.
That is true. Well, that's certainly something to keep an eye on, Chief. I think in terms of the supply chain, how much support they get, because with restaurants reopening, they need some produce to buy.
Yeah. my contact who I was speaking to earlier was saying 90% of his businesses, through no fault of their own, of course, haven't paid their bill since they sort of bought stuff for the first when we were allowed to open in July. They haven't paid their bill yet because we've been locked down. And sort of give them a couple of weeks. They're going to expect that money, otherwise they're not going to be able to order. They've got sort of £30 million worth of stock in their depot, and you can't turn around to Heinz and say, I'm sorry, we're not paying for that 10 pallets of beans that you delivered to us. So this has had an effect on everybody.
Absolutely it has.
300 staff have been furloughed and whatever else. So, this is a catering-wide issue that needs to be addressed.
Fortunately for us, though, I would say, sarcastically, there is whispers, in order to help out the industry once we are allowed to reopen, of the return of the wonderful scheme that was Eat Out to Help Out.
Yeah,
I'm not. Yes. I obviously can't confirm that it's going to make a return. By the time this podcast goes out, it may well have been yayed or nayed. However,
I don't know whether Rishi listens to this.
I don't think he does.
Given last week's absolute pulling his pants down, I don't think he'll be tuning in this week. So
I can't see it. I can't see it. But we interestingly did a little poll, didn't we, on our Instagram page, as to who would like to see Eat Out to Help Out return. And I think pretty much roughly split down the middle. I think it was a slight in favour for yes, they wanted to return. But looking as we did and knowing a lot of the people that follow us, it was pretty much all of the people who work in the industry were in the no camp, and all the people who would be irregular punters were all like, yes, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Can I just say, if you're not following on Instagram, why not?
Yeah.
Firstly. And secondly, do go over and follow us at the Prep Kitchen Podcast. It might be pod. I can never remember. I send people the wrong link all the time. I thought that was really interesting, actually. People obviously want to get a half-price meal.
Yeah.
Whatever guise this might return in. And I'm sure that many business owners would like to see bums on seats. However, I was working, but I wasn't working in a kitchen during the first Eat Out to Help Out. I was working at a pub, but I wasn't in the kitchen. I was just helping out during that very manic time.
Yeah.
And it was craziness. Really crazy. I know you were working in a kitchen.
I was working. Yeah. I was working in the same kitchen.
Would you tell our lovely listeners that don't work in the industry what it was like?
Well, it was extremely difficult. I mean, you had just almost double the volume of customer with what you're used to, and everybody expecting to get fed in a really timely manner. And I know every kitchen is different in terms of staffing and how it's organised. In the kitchen that I work in, it's literally just me. So from doing what's a manageable amount of covers in an evening, I was doing almost, doesn't sound like an awful lot to a lot of people, but when you're on your own, it certainly is. But I was doing nearly 80, 85 covers a day, lunch and dinner, just on my own.
Yeah.
And that's prep as well. So it was challenging. One funny little thing we had though, in the restaurant one lunchtime, was a family of 4 came in, 2 children and mum and dad. And we had a set menu. It was 3 courses for £20. But obviously the customer only pays 10 because Boris picks up the rest of the bill. And the menu got put down in front of them. And they said, is there anything else to choose from other than this menu here? And the waitress was like, no, that's the menu that we're running. And they were like, oh, okay. Make it sound like Prince Charles came in for lunch. Like,
was that Prince Charles you were doing then?
I think it was, yeah.
I just wanted to clarify for the listeners.
Absolutely. So they were saying, oh, this menu's the only one we've got. And they were like, oh. And the reason why they didn't want to choose anything from that menu is because they said they weren't planning on spending that much money, which is £10 each. So
for three courses.
4 people having 3 courses for lunch, spending a grand total of £40 on food, plus any unlimited council pop they wanted to drink. And they said, we weren't looking to spend that much money, unfortunately. And they got up and left.
Come on, Camilla.
Yeah, exactly. So, it was tough. It was difficult. And I think it actually ties nicely back into the opening conversation about mental health, because it's all about getting the punters and the customers and the businesses engaging with one another again. But the strain and the stress on the staff, especially places that are going to be reopening that may not be able to afford to hire a full remit of staff, have to go back in and serve twice the amount of people, do twice the amount of work. That could potentially have a knock-on effect for people.
You could almost, if they were going to do it, you could almost look at sort of saying, well, we're opening in whatever it is, April, May. We will do Eat Out to Help Out in July or August to make sure you've got enough time to get back into the swing of things. Because I think what happened last time, they sort of opened and it started.
Yeah.
And you've been off for 3 months.
Yeah.
So then you're like, oh, shit. It wasn't this bad when I left.
Exactly.
So just on the topic of Eat Out to Help Out, I was scrolling through Instagram the other day. Bristol Food Union did a little post which sort of brought Eat Out to Help Out back to the front of my mind. We're strongly urging the government not to exchange the substantial long-term support we need for short-term gimmicks that deflate public understanding of what good food should cost. You are not Groupon, Mr. Chancellor, and we do not want to be like Pizza Express. Discounted dining runs teams... Excuse me. Discounted dining runs teams ragged and deflates the amount that the public feels willing to pay to dine out. At a time when the cost of food is rising, this is not the kind of support we need. The extension of existing support plus sector-specific grants are the only way many will survive until May. What use is Eat Out to Help Out if our members have already closed? I think that just solidifies what we were saying.
Yeah, especially the part about people not sort of losing I don't know what the right word is here, but losing grasp on what a decent meal or a good meal actually costs. I remember when the Eat Out to Help Out scheme had finished in the place where I work, trying to get them to put the prices back up to what they should be, or at least offer a set menu like we were doing before, but at a more reasonable price. And it was so difficult to say to them, listen, paying £20 for 3 courses isn't expensive. That is still cheap.
Yeah,
and
you could pay the main course.
Exactly. And it was such a struggle because they were under the impression that, but people all, they want it cheap. So of course people want it cheap. Everybody wants it cheap. I would love to be able to walk in to some of the finest restaurants in this country and get a main course for 20 quid, let alone 3 courses for 20 quid. Yeah. And I think that it's going to be difficult to get people away from that mode of thinking. They're going to be going out thinking, well, I can get something to eat. I don't want to spend this much money.
Yeah. And the customer can clearly see that you're getting your arse handed to you. And they're still expecting the service that they got before.
They don't care.
And you just kind of want to say, can you see what's going on here?
Yeah.
Like, just calm down.
Yeah. I'm really sorry there's going to be a bit of weight on food.
Yeah, you will get it eventually.
Yeah.
But everybody's come here today because they want to get their whatever for £3.50.
Yeah.
It's just craziness. I kind of hope he doesn't restart it.
Yeah,
to be honest.
I'm also in that camp. I'm also in the camp of I hope it doesn't come back. But I've got to say,
from a business point of view, it's perfect.
Yeah,
because people are coming to your establishment that haven't been for however long. I suppose you look at it like.
And how many places have punters that go in when the Eat Out to Help Out scheme is on, get their cheap meal, and then never go back again?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you say that you have all these customers coming in,
but they're not coming back.
They didn't come back the following month when Eat Out to Help Out wasn't on. People knew exactly what they were doing.
Yeah.
And you're sort of playing a system.
Yeah. I mean, sure, I went out and I ate at places that had the scheme going, but they're places that I go to anyway. And I've been back many times since it stopped, you know? And I think people need to realise, especially with the smaller businesses, that they do need the support, not just when the going's good for the punter, but when the going needs to be good for the business themselves. But it does lead us on nicely to this week's little section of It's
a Matter of Fact.
And this week, it's
Can I just tell a funny story before we go into a matter of fact?
I implore you.
We record this, and then it gets sent off to editor Ed, your brother, who edits us, and then sends it back to us, and we listen to it, and then we put it out. A little peek behind the curtain for the listener here.
Yeah.
So big shout out to Ed. I was listening to last week's episode on my TV quite loud because my microphone is shit. So I wanted to make sure he'd edited out all my heavy breathing. And when you said it's a matter of fact, he put a little funny effect on there.
He did put a little effect on there.
Absolutely shit myself.
It's just my voice, Chief.
Ed, please warn us before you put these funny little things on.
He's going to do it more. He's going to do it randomly.
The whole podcast.
He's going to do it randomly. He's going to do it randomly. But anyway, it is a matter of fact, and it is all about Eat Out to Help Out. It was difficult to find many solid. It was difficult to find many solid facts on the subject because a lot of them were quite wavy. Depends on which publication you read. However, from the top, are you ready? No choice.
Are these better than the pizza facts last week?
It's a matter of opinion.
I have had a few messages about those pizza facts.
I have as well.
So.
Okay. So, number one, let's go. The August bank holiday of 2020.
Yeah.
The website, OpenTable, which is an online booking website, said that their bookings were up 216% on the same day the previous year. 216% more from August bank holiday 2019. Roughly over 100 million meals were served at a discounted rate.
Yeah.
Number three, in the final full week of the scheme, seated diner numbers, that's people who actually went in to sit down at a restaurant, were up 95% from the previous year.
Yeah.
Almost 100% more people, double the amount. Number four, the average discount per meal claimed was £5.24.
Wow.
And the final, number five, is I hated it. I hated it. That's a fact.
A matter of fact.
That is a matter of fact.
Yeah.
All about Eat Out to Help Out.
Just sort of going back to Eat Out to, going back to it, we're still on it, but people, I could sort of understand saying, look, we've been given this discount for somewhere. We've never been. Let's go and try it. And then if it's good, we'll go again.
Sure.
However, it was kind of counterintuitive because that place was busy as anything, more than likely.
Yeah.
So you're not seeing that place at its best, and you're not seeing the chef at their best. You're seeing the chef behind the line absolutely fucked off because all of his dishes are going to shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It just wound me up.
I'm having to wait.
But I wasn't even in the kitchen at the time.
No, you were just at the front of the house.
If there are any business owners that would like to get in touch, not random businesses, I'm not on about a clothes shop, but restaurant business owners that would like to get in touch and tell us if you thought it was a good idea and the positive impact
there are some
to help out has had. Email us prepkitchenpodcast@gmail.com or send us a message on Instagram at prepkitchenpodcast or at prepkitchenpod. We want to hear from you because we might come back to this if they do get in touch.
I think so. I was going to say I'm waiting for confirmation on the scheme as to what goes on my menu when we reopen.
Yeah.
If it is going to be another month of that, I'm going to have to hugely adapt what I put out.
Yeah.
Because it's going to need to be a lot quicker. It's going to need to be just people who want to get fed.
Yeah.
They almost don't give a crap how good it is. They just want to get fed. And going finally on this point, if you go onto YouTube, you can watch a funny little video of Rishi Sunak working in Wagamama's.
Yeah.
He's waiting a table for some PR stunt, and he's one of the worst waiters you'll ever see.
Well, I did see that video, and I must say that has got to be the first time I've ever seen someone's food arriving at the same time in Wagamama's. So let's move on from there. We have peaked. We have a bit of comedy gold.
We have peaked. It brings us nicely on, to get it a bit more lighthearted, to this week's episode of Challenge Chief. If you remember rightly, last week it was your challenge to decipher whether I was giving you the name of a Swedish ingredient or some flat-packed furniture from a well-known furniture store.
Yeah, you can say IKEA. They're not paying us.
Okay. So. This week we're going over to the Far East, and it's called Easy Japanesey.
I'm not going to say Japanesey.
I don't know, but I'm not going to do the accent. So there we go. I won't upset anyone that way. Yeah, so I'm going to give you some words in Japanese.
Yes.
With questionable pronunciation.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to tell me whether it is the name of a ingredient, one that we will know, or if it's a Japanese sport.
Oh, God.
Okay.
How do you find these things?
I have loads of time.
I got a message about last week's challenge, Chief.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this week goes. It might get cut.
Did someone say I was talking a load of rubbish?
No. Let's carry on.
Okay. So, are you ready?
Yes.
First one in. Kinoko. Spelt Kinoko. Kinoko. Is it an ingredient or a sport?
Yeah. Just last week and this week, I see your spelling again. And as I have no idea to any of them, they're just blatant guesses. The spelling doesn't really do anything for me. Kinoko. I am going to say that is a sport.
Wrong. It is, in fact, mushrooms. Yes, Kinoko is mushrooms. Never mind, Chief. 0 for 1.
No.
Swing and a miss. Next one. Yabusame. I'll give you the spelling. Y-A-B U-S-A-M-E. Yabusame or Yabusami.
Against my better judgment, I'm also going to say that that's a sport.
You'd be absolutely correct. It is a sport. And what a badass sport it is as well. Yabusame uses the Japanese art of archery, but it does it on horseback.
Wow.
Archery on horseback.
Yeah.
I bet that, I hope that is in the school curriculum in Japan.
I forgot my kit.
I hope. You'd have to do it in your underpants, won't you? Oh, God. So, yeah, Yabusame is archery on horseback.
Wow.
Next one, Yaigamo, spelled J-A-G-A-I-M-O. Yaigamo. I'm trying not to laugh. So I've just got images of myself in my own underwear. Well, it's going to be my own, isn't it? In my underwear, on horseback.
Harriet's underwear.
On horseback, shooting a fucking bow and arrow. That's Yaigamo.
Wow. I think that might be an ingredient.
You'll be absolutely correct, Chief. That's 2 in a row. Yaigamo is the Japanese word for potato.
Wow.
Potato. So number 4, ninjin. Spelt N-I-N-J-I-N. Ninjin.
Is it a sport?
It is not a sport.
Wow.
It's a carrot.
Wow.
Ninjin is a carrot.
Yeah.
And finally, kendo.
That is definitely a sport.
That's definitely a sport. You're absolutely right. Kendo literally means the way of the sword.
Yeah.
But I don't pay much attention to kendo because I'm far too involved pursuing my Yabusame career. So there's no room for kendo. That was pretty good this week, Chief. I think that was. What did you get? You got kendo right?
I think that was 2. Oh no, that was 3 out of 5.
Three out of 5.
3 again. Yeah.
So I think that's a win for the chief again.
For people, I know sort of Oriental cuisine is sort of a big thing. I, as I know you are sort of classically trained. So before we start getting letters and emails, who's getting letters? Before we start getting emails saying we should have got those, I've genuinely never heard of most of that, apart from kendo. And as someone who's proudly watched The Karate Kid about 30 times, there's no karate in there.
Well, no, but you know what karate is. I couldn't put it. It was one of the options because it is a legitimate Japanese sport.
It is a Japanese sport.
But if you'd have got that one wrong, it would have been the end of the podcast and perhaps your
wax off.
Perhaps your culinary career as well. But I'll tell you what, it's one of the talk about sort of Japanese cuisine. It's one of the cuisines I really actually enjoy eating.
Yeah.
Because I don't cook it and I don't know how to cook it, and that's the way I like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every time I go and eat out at a Japanese restaurant, I'm eating it going, I've got no idea how they do this, and I even don't want to know. It just tastes great. Yeah. So for me, it's a win-win. I could probably be hoodwinked into eating the worst Japanese food ever, and I'd be thinking to myself, this is amazing. Because I've got no idea how to do it. Whereas something a bit
close, that poisonous fish.
Yeah, whereas something a bit closer to home, I can be critical of it to a certain degree because I've got an understanding of where it comes from, what it's supposed to be. But Japanese food, haven't got a clue. Don't want to have a clue. I just like enjoying eating it, and that's and that for me is the paramount thing. All about the enjoyment of the eating.
Well, that is that's what it's all about, isn't it?
That's exactly what it's all about.
Yeah,
exactly what it's all about.
Or the pumping of the chef's ego.
I don't know what you mean.
Nah, I think you do.
Yeah.
This segment we're moving into now has had rave reviews.
Has it?
Said about this next part. If you do follow us on Instagram, we are giving away a copy of last week's book. It might have ended. I can't remember if I put a date on there or not.
I don't know.
No, but just presume it hasn't, and go and check it out and like and share and comment and whatever. And you might win a copy of last week's book, which was Glimpenel's Rib Ticklers and Shoe-ins. This week's book review is another one that I absolutely adore. And I know definitely that you got me this one because I asked for it. This week, I am reviewing Jason Atherton.
Yes.
Social Suppers.
Social Suppers. If you don't know the book we're on about, just Google cookbook and look for the picture with the happiest bloke holding 3 plates of food.
Yeah.
And that is Jason Atherton.
Yeah. This looks like the face he pulled, or must have pulled, I wasn't there, when Gordon Ramsay said, I'm buying you a restaurant.
Possibly.
He is so happy. There's 2 books in this series, Social Suppers and Social Sweets. I've got both of them.
You do have both.
Social Sweets is amazing. As I said earlier, sweets aren't my area of expertise. But it's very handy. It's also got Marco Pierre White's lemon tart in there.
It has, yeah.
Yeah. And as we were on about last week. So yeah, we just love referencing back to last week.
Callback, yeah.
Yeah, calling back. It is called on the page, Marco's Lemon Tart. So if you don't know what we're talking about there, go and listen to last week. If you've listened to it, go and listen to it again. This book just sort of highlights Jason Atherton's simple approach to cookery. There's no bullshit. There's no fucking around. It is what it is. We've got Cote de Boeuf with herb salsa, courgette, frites, and ceps on there. It's a nice looking plate of food. Yeah. What else we got? The pulled pork sandwiches with pickled kohlrabi and coleslaw.
Sounds lovely.
Crab and asparagus salad with radishes. Maybe this week we'll give this one away as well. I don't know. We might have spent the budget on Japanese lessons for you.
I don't need them.
No.
I don't need them.
If you haven't read this, I highly recommend you go and buy this one.
Yeah.
The only problem with this one is it's not big enough. I wish there was more in there.
Really?
Yeah. This one is available now on Amazon for £13 something.
Super.
RRP 25.
Is there particular recipes in that book or certain parts of the book where you sort of always go back to? Is it one of those books that you, when you're writing a menu or planning a menu, which we'll discuss in the weeks coming, is it that one of the books that you turn to get a little bit of inspiration?
Always go to one of this one.
Yeah.
There's a couple, and this one is usually. Maybe more social sweets than social suppers.
Yeah.
But if I'm struggling with a menu idea, or I think, I've got such and such on, what could I put with that that's a little bit different, but not,
completely
out of the ordinary?
Yeah.
I'll go to this one. It's also got this lovely sort of material binding. So if that's your bag,
that's just a bonus.
Yes, yeah, and
for those
gold,
of you,
silver foiling.
For those of you that enjoy the tactile sensation of reading a cookbook, that is definitely the one for you. But I think I'm right in saying that's a good book to get hold of for both a professional and for a home cook as well. Yes. There's loads in there for both.
Yeah. I was going to pick a restaurant book this week, actually. I was, however, I think I'll save those.
Save them.
Till we get more listeners.
Save them for a rainy day.
But yeah, if you're a home cook or you need to get some ideas or whatever you use cookbooks for, this is definitely one to have in the cookbook shelf.
In the arsenal.
Yes. We're not promoting stealing recipes from cookbooks or dishes from cookbooks. Someone messaged me about that last week.
Did they? What did they say?
Yeah. They said you shouldn't be promoting chefs stealing other other dishes. I didn't reply. If it was you,
it wasn't me. Did you get it?
You're a loser.
Did you get it via?
No, not you. Huh?
Oh right. Did you get it via email?
No, I got a personal message on my Instagram account.
Oh really?
Did I not send it to you?
No, I didn't see that.
Oh, it was a treat. Yeah, I'll try and find it after. I might have deleted it.
I always thought we were quite clear saying if you did take a recipe from a chef, that it should go on, like you just said earlier on in that segment, with the name of the chef, where it comes from, as an homage to that particular cook, saying, this is the best of this I've tried, I'm putting it on because I think it's a great dish. But to use cookbooks for inspiration in terms of, for techniques or ingredients or combinations or whatever, it always brings up something that you maybe haven't thought of yourself. Yeah. But the whole industry is filled with practically plagiarizing people's work before.
Yeah, of course. Marco says, we're not inventing the wheel.
Yeah.
We're just
refining it. Yeah.
Refining it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Marco, if you are listening, me and my girlfriend haven't been shopping this week and we need some more stock cubes. So if you could send some of those over for free, that'd be lovely.
Super duper.
I still go back to and look at his Waterstones bio that says chef and purveyor of stock cubes, and it makes me laugh every time.
That's what they call him. Chef and purveyor of stock cubes.
And purveyor of stock cubes. Now, talking of shopping, it's time for something that we are getting a bit of response from last week.
Well, that's good.
It's ingredient challenge time.
Ingredient challenge. Last week it was my ingredients you chose. This week you've got the ingredients and I choose.
Yeah. Last week it was cauliflower.
Yeah.
I haven't done it yet, but I'm going to do it tomorrow. I think I know what you're doing.
Well, so, you may know what I'm doing because I've put a few little clues out there into the social media network. All I'm going to say is 1-0. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah,
that's all I'm going to say. It's
braised cauliflower leaves don't count as a cauliflower dish.
Just to let everyone know, I do believe we're going to be dropping the final products onto Instagram which will be actually tomorrow. But when you listen to it, it'll be the 29th.
Yeah, you'll have missed it.
You'll have missed it almost, but yeah, that's almost just for us to waffle on about that. So, ingredients, Chief.
Yeah, you've got 5 to choose from. I haven't written them down. They're in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're on my phone actually, and it's nearly run out of juice. So
I think you went 3 last week, didn't you? So I'm going to go 1. I'll have 1, please, Chief.
1 is a mango.
A mango.
Yep.
A mango. Ooh. A mango. That's a good one. That's a good one.
As the sweet man.
That's the sweet man, yeah.
They're all sweet-related ingredients.
Were they?
Yeah. And you've chosen a more exotic.
Well, be prepared for a mango sausage roll.
Wow. Wow. Now, if you are playing along at home, these can be sweet or savoury dishes.
You can do what you like with it, yeah.
Just the main sort of key ingredient in the dish has got to be a mango.
It has to be mango.
Yeah. So you can do a steak and then a tiny little bit of mango salsa.
Yeah. It's got to be an overwhelming sort of component of the dish.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm quite looking forward to that. And hopefully more people will get involved with this one, with the one that went previously, and hopefully it'll just build some momentum and it'll all get everybody cooking. Yeah. Like I said, we'll share photos of the work that you've done and what you've put towards us, and we'll give you a big thumbs up. And like you said, we may even choose a winner from each week, and they can, they'll either get a menial prize or simply just the respect of their peers.
Yeah. I've actually ordered a cup that I'm going to get engraved. Yeah. So when we are allowed to meet again, that's getting handed back and forth every week.
Oh, excellent. Brilliant stuff.
Talking of cups, you might win a Prep Kitchen podcast mug.
A mug with a couple of mugs on it.
Yeah. One very attractive mug.
Yeah.
And you.
The other one's me, yeah. Excellent stuff. So I look forward to that. Mango's a bit of a challenge. I've not done much with mango for a long time. It's not a fruit that I've done tons of stuff with, I must say. But I'm looking forward to the challenge, hence ingredient challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think I just about wraps this up for today, mate. I think we're pretty much there. I think we got through it. I don't know if there's anything you want to add at the end.
No, I just want to thank everyone.
Parting gift.
I just want to thank everyone again for listening. Make sure you're subscribing and liking and everything. We're still having trouble with Apple Podcasts, but we are up on Spotify and numerous others now.
Google, YouTube,
everything, everywhere apart from Apple.
Find it.
Yeah, so just keep liking and subscribing. Make sure you go and check us out on Instagram if you're not already, at the Prep Kitchen Podcast. Go and give us a follow over there. If you've got any catering news stories you'd like us to talk about, or anything you want us to talk about, really, we'll talk about any old shit. Email us, the prepkitchenpodcast@gmail.com, and we will look forward to reading some of those out. If you're already following us on Instagram, you can send us a message on there. It might get overlooked, but
what I will say is next time around, and this is through no fault of our own, it's just to be the topics that came to us, but we're certainly going to try, I think, with a concerted effort to make things more, shall I say, food and ingredient led on the next episode's topics, because we've been a bit heavy this weekend. We've gone Eat Out to help out, and the questions that John sent us in about, mental health certainly is a very, very worthy cause to talk about. But next week, I think we'll try and lighten things up, and we'll do a bit more. We'll get more inside that brain of yours, Chief, and see what you actually think about certain ingredients, or if you think at all.
It's very rarely happens.
Very rarely happy. Right, well, I'm going to sign off there, mate. And I look forward to seeing what you do with cauliflower.
That's coming. Tomorrow I'm going to do that.
Yeah, which won't be tomorrow when people hear this, but we'll find that out.
I'll be Monday.
Yeah. Okay,
recording
mate.
This on a Sunday night.
Spot on.
Cheers, Chief.
Thank you very much, mate. And thanks.
I'll speak to you next week.
All the best. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.